Okay, welcome back to the season finale, and Ryan is doing the emo Toby Maguire dance for Spider-Man.
Yep. Spider-Man, as of our recording, came out today. Saw that. Um, but also, I was just doing the dance because Erica won, and she was under my picks.
Yeah,
Granted, she was not my first five picks, but she fell under that category.
yeah, she won all right.
Yeah.
I will say, I picked Erica to win last week. I was like, okay, well, there's no way she's not winning now. I was like, yeah, I was locked in on Erica, especially last week. And then going into this, I saw the promos, and they gave everyone like a tiny little snippet of like, I'm gonna win. I think I can win. And then Erica had like this 3 beats long segment about how the season's going to go, or how the episode's going to go.
Oh,
I'm like, what?
oh, Survivor.
Yeah,
It's
like
funny.
they basically spoiled it if you read into it.
Yeah, people. Yeah, it's also interesting because I've been seeing stuff on like Instagram, like because one of the first things we learned that there was no like aftermath or like there was no
After show.
reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, we're just gonna do all that live on the beach,
Mhm.
or at Tribal, which I have mixed feelings about. It
Yeah.
definitely felt like it's like, oh, but we're getting their most raw emotion and stuff,
Mhm.
and I'm like, yeah, you're making the best out of the situation, but
Yeah.
it's cool for them to have like time to reflect
Yeah.
um,
I
on
enjoy
everything.
it when they get to see the edit themselves and actually say like, "Oh, I didn't know that this was happening in the game," because there's a lot of things that they do miss when it's just in their kind of little bubble and they're in the raw moment. They're not thinking things
Yeah,
always fully through. Um so yeah, it was definitely, I think that there were benefits to it. I think there were some things that were definitely interesting, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool that this is happening or whatever. But there was definitely things that I liked from the reunions that we kind of didn't get this time.
yeah. And it's funny because they did technically have like a self-imposed reunion where so it only had 14 of the 18, so not too bad. Erica, which was kind of like the thing, she had her own like little viewing party up in like Canada.
Mhm.
Um, and then I'd say, and the only three other people that weren't in the photo were, I think it was Sydney. Um, it might have been five. I'm not the best counter. Sydney, even though I do inventory a lot. uh, Sydney, I know Jeannie wasn't in it, Brad wasn't in it,
Mhm.
and I don't think Heather was either.
Mhm.
So like those five were missing from that photo, but everyone else was in this picture. Even like early boots, and that's one thing I didn't like about like that merge thing,
Yeah.
or not that merge thing. Yeah, it was just like pre-merge, just like screw you guys.
Yeah.
You
Well,
don't get
what?
to.
Yeah. What made it bad too was that this season, normally there's a pre-merge trip that happens for everyone that goes pre-merge. This season they didn't have that. They actually sent
Oh,
everyone pre-merge home.
I guess
So
that makes sense because of COVID, but I feel like
it would have been cool to still do the trip and then just be like, okay, on the last day of the trip, you're gonna come here for this surprise reunion, and we're gonna bring you guys in.
or
Um,
at the very least keep them locked in a hotel, and not like in that way, but like
yeah, yeah,
that's yeah, especially since uh I mean, it's something where they make the best out of the situation, but
yeah.
yeah, pre pre merge kind of got very screwed there.
Yeah, yeah. But I also want to say Erica, first Canadian winner.
Yeah,
We got the first Filipino winner.
yep.
First woman since I believe like what
It
2017 to win.
since 2017, in almost 5 years.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a great thing. I know like a few weeks back I was like, oh yeah, when Sham was voted out, I was like, our options are Liana, Erica, and Heather. And like, during the time frame,
Mhm.
you know, Erica was playing such a sleeper game at this point where it was really hard to like see. But like
Yeah.
once she, said her piece and stuff, and when you realize, oh, she's manipulating the game, being from the middle,
Mhm.
which is something oddly enough we've seen time and time again. But I guess like hers was different, and like what even Jeff was like, giving her credit for that she brought up was um that she is always underestimated. And she even said so in her like EW, or is it was that EW that did like the videos and stuff?
I believe so. Yeah. Entertainment Weekly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were like and she was like, yeah, I think people are always gonna underestimate me and stuff. And it
Mhm.
worked to her advantage. Um I
Yeah.
gotta say too, where is this Heather cut? Bring us the Heather cut.
I know,
Because
right?
like Xander, yeah, I know I'm skipping all over, but like
I
Xander
think that's
was,
just going to be the case of this episode. There's a lot to cover, and we're not going to be able to piece this
yeah,
in order.
Xander was like, I don't think Heather is a goat and stuff like that. She has her moments,
Mhm.
especially like during the Fire Channel challenge. We'll get to
Mhm.
that because that one was actually like, whoa.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was the definitely the highlight for Heather of the season, being in
yeah,
that
and I'm
moment.
like, where like I don't think. Are we being gaslighted? Like, why was she on the cut? If she was so great, why was it on the cutting room floor? Because we're not really seeing that.
Yeah,
And Xander is
I
pretty.
think they edited her like that. I think I now understand why they edited her like that. I wanted that. I think they were afraid that if they didn't have Xander have this kind of bad move moments, that it might seem weird that then Erica ended up winning here, because up to this point, Xander honestly was playing such a great game. Like he makes this really big blunder at Final Four, but he was playing in terms of getting to the end very good.
Yeah,
But his biggest flaw was he told three different people he's going to play the idol for them and then
yeah,
never plays it for them.
yeah. And I feel like another thing, honestly, when he was thinking about not breaking Erica, I did think that was a good strategy. I mean, uh not making Erica go for fire. I did think that was a great strategy in the sense of like, look, yeah, they were right. It's something to add to the resume.
Yeah,
Um,
it seemed like Xander kept trying to think like a few moves ahead. But the thing is, he was at the end. He was thinking like almost even further ahead, which ultimately got him thinking way too much and overthought the situation, I think.
true. And I guess it's like, well, I mean, it's hard because like, I don't think he necessarily wooed himself,
Mhm.
but it's a similar situation where it's like, okay, I get to choose who makes fire.
Mhm.
And it just so happened where like he didn't want to make the wrong decision, but at the same time, he was trying to be really smart about it too. Um,
Yeah.
though, yeah, it's
I really thought for a moment
at
though that
all.
he was going to give up immunity and face Erica and fire, because he had this whole moment where he realized, oh, Erica can't make fire. I thought she was
Yeah.
good at it. She was on Exile.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it's like well, yeah, if Erica never made fire, and like I said, the last person I saw make fire on the show was like Ricard, which we'll get to him in a minute. But it's something where I in that moment and stuff, it was like, oh, like, is it the best thing? Because yeah, it took her a while. But there was one little thing too. It rained the night before.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure how much harder it is to make a fire with damp wood,
Mhm.
but I'm pretty sure that might have played a factor into it. Um,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I believe it was raining on Exile when Erica did it too. I believe that there was some storm or something. Like it was a pretty bad conditions there as well. And also, even though she was on Exile and made fire, it seemed like it took her a few hours. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't quick. And with the fire making challenge, you got to be quick now. You can't take your time with making the
espe-
fire.
especially this challenge. It was like literally seconds. It was a great
Yeah.
back and forth. I almost called it with Heather.
Yeah.
Like, uh, do I have? I do have my notes, but I'm like, what exactly did Ryan put? Yeah, Heather wins, and I put emojis in my. And then the question mark was put in after the fact, and then the emoji was like, "Oh my god!" Like
Yeah.
this fire challenge was a bit more lit than I thought. Like if you told
It was
me,
literally lit. Yeah.
yeah, if you told me a week ago that Deshaun and Heather would be making fire and it would be actually pretty epic
Yeah,
and super
arguably
super
one of the best. I don't.
yeah.
I still think Tony and Sarah's for me
Oh yeah,
personally is
because it
above
has
it.
the emotional weight to it and
Yeah,
everything.
I think this is right under it. I think I would put this
I
right
agree.
there.
If you told me that a week ago, I would have said you're crazy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have believed it. But
yeah,
like actually seeing it, I'm like, hold up, whoa, it was like incredible to watch, and it was a big back and forth, and then yeah,
yeah. And it looked like the reason Heather's fire wasn't hitting the rope actually was that hers wasn't positioned very well, like underneath it. So it was actually kind of skewered. So the flame was having trouble getting to it because it was off centered. So
dang.
if she had positioned it a little better, Heather's the winner of this instead. And I don't think it changed the outcome of the season. I think Erica would have still
We need.
won.
It really depends on the Heather cut.
Yeah, yeah. The Heather,
Release the,
yeah, we could have gotten a very different cut with Heather.
release the Heather cut.
Yeah.
I put that in my Facebook group chat. Also, someone said that no matter what, on Wednesday, America is going to win, and then a Canadian wins. And
Yeah.
I just found that funny. I didn't know exactly what they meant by that, but
Yeah, America's just went. Let's just do some patriotic pride, I guess.
and then I'm like, yeah, it was actually a Canadian. But
Yeah.
it was it is something where unfortunately for her, it's going to be a controversial win.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
because of two things. One, the hourglass.
Yeah.
And two, now it really depends on how you spin this.
Mhm.
But, like the episode starts out, one, the aftermath of like the night before. And then two, it starts out with everyone gets a clue to where an advantage will be.
Mhm.
And, they were like, oh, it's not going to be much, but it'll be something. No, that
Oh, this
challenge
is a
was like,
lot.
well, when it pretty much cuts in half pretty much everything you have to do except for the puzzle in half,
Yeah.
like it's like, that's super, super broken. Like,
Yeah. Erica speeded through everything at a significantly faster pace because of it. It's like it wasn't
yeah,
like you get one extra rope done and you get one thing. It was like you get half of that thing done.
yeah. However, I will say this, and this was a thought that came to me. If you consider that clue and stuff part of the challenge,
Mhm.
it actually makes sense in the
Yeah.
sense of like if you think of it as like a two-part challenge where one is done on the beach and the rest of it's done there, that's technically part of the challenge because A, everyone had the same clue, and B, they had to unscramble everything in order to, go looking for it. So it was technically part of the race. So and part of that challenge.
Yeah.
So if you look at through that way, and I totally understand if people don't want to, but like it is something that kind of like justifies that outcome.
Yeah.
Though Ricard, I gotta hand him. He was so
Yeah,
close.
he
Like,
almost null and void the advantage. Like he
I
almost
know,
did
like,
it.
and then like, the whole thing of like, oh, are they actually going to keep him? Stuff like that. The stuff with like Xander and his idol and stuff. And I'm like, there, like Ricard, you know, is he a great of all time? I feel like he needs a few more seasons under his belt to like really, really know.
In his Ponderosa, which was another great Ponderosa, by the way. I there's a few things actually to also unpack from that one because there's a lot of stuff there. But he had a whiteboard with the Mount Rushmore Survivor players, and he had I
Put
believe it
himself on
was
it, maybe.
Sandra, Tony, and I believe Natalie were his three people, and then he took and then hit the fourth
Which
spot.
Natalie?
Natalie Anderson.
I was about to say, like, I kind of figured, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm like,
Yeah, and then the fourth spot, he then wrote his name Ricard as on the Mount Rushmore survivors.
I
So
mean, he gave a pretty good, first outing, and I feel like,
he's definitely going to return.
yeah,
There are three people who I think are guaranteed locks to return. It's him, Shan, and Xander. I think those three are definitely going to be coming back in the future.
honestly, I
Yeah.
feel like I feel like this one is kind of this one has the potential to kind of be like in the same like pool as either Australia or season 28 Cagayan, where there's a lot of great people here.
Yeah.
Where they can pull for whatever reason. Like it.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I mostly
I
just highlight those three because I think they're guaranteed locks, and then there's a few others that I think could return. Like for instance, an Evie or Nasir, I think could definitely return. But I think that might be a little more in the cards than what the season might be. I think they might be a little more dependent on that. And then I think Deshaun and Liana could have come back if there's like another game changers esque cast, kind of maybe not superstar studded, but I could see them kind of coming back for something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can, there's possibilities, and you never know if there's going to be like another Winners at War.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think Erica's coming back unless there is some kind of Winners at War season. I think I think this is a one and done for her. I think she did it, and she's gonna just say, okay, I got my money, I'm good.
Well, I mean,
another and also, like, did you know that in Canada they don't have to pay a tax for winnings on game shows, so she gets all the money.
Even if she won in America?
Yeah. She has to pay an American tax, which is a little bit, but when it gets all translated over to Canadian dollars, that's $1.3 million. So she's actually going to be making way more money.
Holy yeah, that one line she was saying, I'm like, wow. Well, good on her. Yeah, I feel like her as a winner, it's like to a lesser extent, with all the respect.
Yeah.
I have compared it, her gameplay to Michelle Fitzgerald in the sense of like making it to the merge without going to tribal council.
Yeah.
And then, or the mergatory thing at the very least. Yeah. And then, having a pretty decent end game, it's something where, it's like kind of like that, but that does breed controversy.
Yeah. I want to let everyone know I get her win completely from where the jury was standing from a gameplay perspective. I totally understand that, but as a fan, she definitely is going to get backlash and probably put down on a winners list way more because of how she was perceived for most of this season. Like, we don't really see her till like episode 6, and there's only 13 episodes here, so there's like so many episodes where she's kind of just a non-factor up until the merge. So there's definitely like if I had to give like a number, it's probably like maybe number 26 to 28 or something in a winners rankings. Like, that's probably where I'm putting her, is somewhere around there.
I think that's fair. It's like, and there is some things like I have seen, like Xander was robbed, stuff like that. I'm like, look, I feel like both of them played solid games for, what each of them were given and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I, to be honest, I was a little surprised that Xander got zipped,
Mhm.
especially since like Nasir seemed to be like his biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, so Nasir is locked. Um, yeah, I found that a little surprising. Like I do
Yeah.
think that, and like I get it, like he didn't have like certain, he wasn't too on a lot of people's nice list
Mhm.
this Christmas, but
Yeah.
it's still like something where I'm like, really, he didn't get any? Like Deshaun gets second place?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't I think he gets second place purely because people vote for Erica. I kind of think the jury went into final tribal with their minds made up. I think they were already writing off Xander, and I think they're already writing off Deshaun. I think because I don't think Erica's final speeches and at final tribal was necessarily great.
no,
But it was really just everyone on the jury was like, "You did a great job, Erica. You did a great job. You should be proud of your game," and they kept boosting her up at every step along the way. So
yeah,
it definitely seemed like they were like, okay, we need to try hyping her up because she's probably not going to be perceived by some people as being this big threat. But I definitely think there's a lot of talk when Heather and Ricard probably got taken out about who they want to vote for,
yeah.
and Danny being the one person to vote for Deshaun probably just wanted to have his best
But
bud. Yeah, he wants to have his best bud get second place. He it seemed even he knew Erica was winning. He gave Erica a shout out at the end. So I think he was even just being like, yes, you did a great job. But in his own head, he was like, but I have to give Deshaun second
yeah,
place.
yeah. Which it is like, because like, social awareness. And I feel
Mhm.
like this uh tribal council was a great way to like actually bring it up, because like, in the sense of like social awareness is a part of your social game. And
Mhm.
I think that Erica also, really define it in the sense of like explaining it, not define it as in like she made it her own,
Mhm.
but define it as in defining.
Mhm.
um of how like social awareness and like social game doesn't mean just being likable. It's where do you sit with everyone, and knowing that, and knowing how you can maneuver
Mhm.
socially within the game given
Yeah.
the parameters.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, Erica put herself in a great position where I think a lot of people were going to go to the end with her, even though there was a lot of people who said she was a threat. Like people were not looking at taking her out for some reason, even though there was a stage earlier on where they were trying to take her out. So,
well, I think it's because that there were so many like threats
mhm,
during this merge.
yeah,
Like if you look at, I would say the only like non-threat before this like finale, if we're going like, let's say since the start of the merge, so Tiffany can be considered a threat because of the whole
yeah,
mom thing, and being a hard worker,
yeah,
all that. And then like if you look at like everyone being eliminated except for maybe Liana,
yeah,
and I feel bad for saying that, but at the same time it's like
yeah.
pretty much
I
everyone was
think
a,
if she gets the end, I think she gets 0 votes, or maybe Shan's vote at most.
yeah. Yeah, but it's like if you look at everyone that's been eliminated besides her, they're
Yeah,
all considered threats.
yeah.
Nasir, Evie, Shan, Danny. I mean, like,
Yeah. Yeah,
like
this whole cast, even though there's a lot of pre-merge people that I would even say would be threats moving forward. There's maybe like 3 people I think in the pre-merge that if they made it to the merge would be looked at as not a threat. So
it would have been interesting. I know you were cheerleading for Brad very hard.
yeah.
I will admit, like just in the sense of like, because we got to like know a lot of these people prior, and
Mhm.
through the like EWs and stuff,
Yeah.
as
And
well as
our
like
brand steel
our
simulation where
brand
we
steel
predicted
simulation.
that
We
that
already we already made attachments and everything. Uh,
exactly.
By the way, we need to do that again for
Yeah,
42.
42. Yeah, we got
Even
the
though,
preview.
even though we'll get to that later,
Yeah.
but like, even though there's still, or I saw someone repost the cast list and that one person still doesn't have their picture yet.
Yeah, there's one person who doesn't have it. Who I don't. It's weird that I've never seen this long and someone's not. Maybe they just don't have any socials and they're just an off the grid person. I don't know.
It's, well, I mean, even then, I would figure that production, because you have to have like a picture of you when you submit.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
figuring it's like you have to have a picture of you when you submit. I'm not sure, how the in-person auditions go either.
I don't think you have to
Granted,
bring anything. I have seen they say you don't need to bring anything, just your personality.
but as people who have like auditioned for stuff before,
Mhm.
they still take your picture,
Yeah.
even if it's like on their camera in the middle of a casting room. They take a picture because when they're discussing you in whatever board meeting, they're gonna like, okay, this is Ryan. This is
Mhm.
what Ryan looks like. He didn't bring in a headshot or anything, but we liked him. This is his head. This is his face against this wall. That's Ryan. Like, that's just like
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
an industry like staple, not even a standard. It's a
Yeah.
staple.
Maybe we got a
Uh,
Fiji situation where someone was supposed to be on the cast and then they ended up withdrawing last second, and that just hasn't translated over. So we have kind of like this mystery person.
Never thought of that, but
Yeah.
okay. All right. Anyways, uh, so we've covered a lot. Feels like we've covered a lot. But that's because we're going everywhere, so everything is just,
We had 3 hours to cover. This is a lot.
yeah. Let's see. We already talked about the advantages. Yeah. Oh, one thing. It was an interesting gambit for Ricard to mention, that he had a baby due any day now.
Yeah.
Like, I thought like it's one of those moves where it's like, oh, is he doing it because like it's to kind of like go against the norm and see how it works, because everyone usually hides family stuff.
Yeah.
But if he's doing it, is he really? Because like I know like the edit, they always give you that like sense of like, ooh, is it this or that? But like it did look like Xander was very conflicted, and it was
Yeah.
the thing of like, and I feel like everyone kind of was, because like even Erica was like, should I take out Deshaun? And, I don't want him there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he screwed me over. And like I was in my head, I'm like, no, Erica. Like,
Yeah.
um,
It definitely yet again, going back to Ricardo Ponderosa, he said that he knew going in that he was going home unless Xander plays Zyla. Like that was the only way that was saving him at that point.
yeah,
And he knew that. So I'm guessing he just wanted to he knew that it wasn't the votes that mattered. He knew he was going to get the votes that would send him home. So maybe it was a
yeah,
big kind of like thing, because if he survived this tribal, I think he was going to win the game. I think he would
yeah,
have won
because he knows how to make
fire.
fire. So like even if
Yeah.
which I feel like, what was the challenge again? I'm trying to think of
Um,
what. Oh yeah, the Viking thing.
Yeah. That,
Or
by the
the
way, cool
Viking.
challenge. I loved it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I like the fact that it was like a Viking thing and they kind of mixed up the whole balance thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like he would have been decent at that.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
even if he
Yeah.
didn't, he knows how to make fire.
Yeah.
Like, given like the little foreshadow thing, or
Yeah.
wasn't
It would have
foreshadow.
had to been. I think Xander would have had to go against Ricard in immunity for fire. I think that would have been the only person that could have potentially beaten Ricard at fire. But
Maybe,
that's a
yeah.
situation we will never know, because it didn't
Not
happen.
in this universe.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, it's something where, and it kind of like with Shan, where the tribal council kind of slowed down, and it's like, the person's going to get eliminated. Jeff knows the person's getting eliminated,
Yep.
and they just talk about it, and it's like
Yeah.
it did feel a little bit Suri-esque,
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
like in Game Changer, it was like, wow, that
There's a
it has,
few times this season I felt that the tribal council had a different music or something and a different kind of interesting send off to characters. Like Shan had a very interesting kind of like where the votes tied and it was her and Liana, and it was like this, the music slowed down and it kind of swelled to kind of a crescendo. And same with Danny, he had a pretty interesting kind of moment as well with it.
yeah,
So they definitely were playing a lot with the sound mixing this season for tribal. So that is
yeah.
something you got to give the editors at least that.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
other things that we can knock them for, but at least they're getting sound.
And sound is very important when it comes to editing.
Exactly.
I know a couple professional editors, and one who, bringing up Spider-Man again, I know at the very least he worked on like trailers for the
Mhm.
new Spider-Man movie.
Uh-huh.
I talked to him a while back, and he was like, "Yeah, like you want sound is so important when it comes to it. Like you
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah.
Like,
It makes or breaks
yeah,
projects.
yeah. As you know, because you've made, the
Yep.
man has made quite a few pilots this
Yeah,
year. So
yep,
like,
yep. Editing
um,
one right now, and sound is definitely something that we're working on.
yeah, yeah. Um, all right. So what else? I mentioned the Bold Gambit.
Mhm.
I put idle, idle, idle 3 times. I'm guessing it was like I because it was a new beach. I mean, like the potential of an idol being out there.
Yeah,
I mean, like it was there. I guess because they were like, oh, there's an advantage. That's
yeah,
probably it. Like,
yeah. I just figured it was probably an idol because of like Island of the Idols. When they went to a new beach, there was an idol, but of course that was at Final Six
yeah.
or no, it was at Final Five. Yeah, so I guess it would have
Well,
made
I mean,
sense still.
it was because the controversy and stuff, and then
Yeah,
like they had to remove a
yeah,
person from the game in order for it.
yeah.
So it would have been,
Final Six. Yeah,
had that not been the case.
yeah,
But
exactly.
anyway, um, yeah, because like for me, I'd be like looking for the idol, especially since there was never a merge idol. Can we say it, like it's hard? I wish Xander didn't play it because it would have been interesting to have an entire season without someone playing an idol.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
it, it,
it was
I
just
know he
yeah.
just did it because he didn't want a souvenir, but at the same time, I'm like, we could have had an entire season in Modern Survivor where no one played an idol.
Yeah, it would have been very interesting. And I mean, he just shouldn't have told Ricard he was playing an idol for him. I think the second he did that, I think Ricard
Lots of both.
it became he expected an idol to get played because you
Yeah,
don't just say that stuff and not try to follow through on it.
yeah. Can I also say that Ricard was very, very he was definitely as a jury member, he had a lot to say, and like he
Yeah.
was almost like cutting people down at tribal or
Yeah,
during final tribal.
interestingly enough, there was like two people who were leading the jury talk with everyone, and it was Ricard and Danny. Like I felt like
Yeah,
those two were the ones that had a lot of input and was
polar, in a lot of ways polar opposites, because I feel
yeah,
like, because like if there was like a hero and there was, I wouldn't say villain in the sense of like has done some like stuff and is very, very determined.
mhm,
I would say that like Ricard, I wouldn't say he's like a big villain, but like he definitely has little devil horns.
yeah, a bit of an anti-hero almost.
I,
He's got this
I would
heroic
say like
intent,
I,
but he's definitely not afraid to cut people's throats.
yeah, I mean just like turned on his closest ally and like never. But I feel like in this one, like even like all the duos knew in this time around that like not everything is promised, and like yeah, like my ally is also a threat, which is
Mhm.
something where I feel like it's something that brings a lot of like realism to the game, or this social awareness that sometimes other contestants may lack, or at the very least, they don't really show it in the edit. But
Mhm,
it's like, yeah, your ally can be, you know, a detriment to your game at a certain point.
mhm.
Because at the end, like you want $1 million, and at the, if the friendship is good, you're gonna be friends no matter what.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, yet again, I've kept bringing up Ricard Sponerosa because it's so good.
yeah,
Shan never gave Ricard any eye contact. She is pissed off at Ricard's. And there's a whole thing about how they cannot be friends moving forwards.
there is one little thing where Shan, yeah, I feel so bad that her stock went down. Like she
Mhm.
is not even in my top 5 for the season. If that,
Yeah,
like, an honorable mention, yes, but like when I was like looking at the number 5 spot, I was like, it's either Nasir or it's gonna be Shan. I'm like, but Shan fell so hard from grace.
yeah.
Um,
It's weird to say because she had such a great pre-merge game, like legit one of the best pre-merge games we had. But
yeah,
post-merge forwards, like she was one of the worst players out there.
yeah, and she even got on Deshaun during tribal. It was like, oh,
Which was
temper
so
tantrums
uncalled
and
for.
stuff. And I'm like, even if it was, do you think that your actions did not
Yeah,
just
it
like,
seemed very hypocritical, especially looking back, because she was doing the same thing to Deshaun. She was trying, like,
yeah,
she's
I was
using the
like,
same manipulation of this social cause, to basically, get people upset at Deshaun.
yeah, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
like, even with that, it's like, um, and the tantrums and all that, it's like, I feel like that's another thing where I would have liked the reunion to see if Shan still felt the same way,
yeah,
because I think
I
that's
agree.
another thing when you're watching like these shows and everything, is like, oh,
Mhm.
did they ever make up or something like that? Like,
Yeah,
we saw like the hints of things kind of getting better-ish between Tony and Sarah. Like Sarah was still like, he's a little asshole. But like, like you saw that it was a bit more playful than it was like, at day 39 during, final travel and everything.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also just like a lot of people learn a lot about themselves when they watch themselves on TV. They see the things other people were calling them out for and seeing if what they're calling other people out for was true, or if it was just them being having a wrong read on it. Like there's a lot of things that when you do get to see yourself and you're not in that moment anymore, you can reflect and learn a lot about yourself from
Yeah,
that, which we
I
don't
learned
get
I
in
had a big
this.
nose. Anywho,
Yep, you're a little Pinocchio.
no, I'm his is just long. I like my nose actually. It used to be an insecurity, but that's beside the point. But yeah, I mean, like, because hindsight is 2020, and plus when you're in the moment, you internalize a lot of things, and that doesn't always come to the surface, or maybe it doesn't show as much as you think. And so, yeah. And also I feel like Headspace, which is another reason why I didn't like the, reunion being like right after,
uh,
because it didn't seem like Xander wanted to be there. Like it
or
looked like,
Deshaun, that was like painful for them. Like they hated that experience.
yeah, it was like, well, give them time to like process what happened, because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that, like, and now you're just talking about it. Like that's a lot to go through.
Yeah, they're
Um,
expecting like, okay, there's going to be some time for me to kind of maybe slowly understand if I won or lost. Like you can kind of figure it out along that, but just to get sprung on you and then suddenly like now I'm here in a reunion show where I'm being
yeah,
asked
yeah,
questions about my game, and I just lost. Like I got 0 votes, or just in Deshaun's case, I only got one.
yeah. And it's like you need time to like really assess.
Yeah.
And I feel like, oh, of like, the Entertainment Weekly stuff. I haven't read it because today has been busy, and also
Mhm,
staying off the social media for half of it because didn't want any spoilers for Spider-Man.
mhm,
Um, so like so it's like something where they can talk about it after the fact, but a narrative of like what Survivor gives us, it's kind of like the vast majority of people won't know. Like
mhm,
we'll probably know because we'll read articles or we'll mention it to each other,
mhm.
or we'll watch other YouTube videos that mention it, because like we're diehard fans, and like we're interested in little facts like that.
Mhm.
But like, for the average person, or the person that um like Survivor and stuff, they just don't look up stuff on YouTube, or
Yeah.
they are in any like group things, like that's just like their own personal thing.
Mhm.
They'll be like, they don't get that. Which, I mean, like, they can always branch out, but I digress.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people also who are maybe more casual fans of this will
Yeah,
not get Erica's win. I think they're going to say, well, I saw Xander a lot. Xander was
yeah.
making moves. Why didn't Xander win?
I actually, um I was on set last Friday,
Mhm,
and my co-star for this film, or at least the short, it was like an anthology thing, and it was like our story. Anywho,
mhm,
um like I was talking to her because like I learned when we wrapped that she was a Survivor fan, and
uh-huh,
so like I wanted to talk to her about Survivor next time we met, and like when I did mention like, oh, I don't, if Ricard doesn't make it to the end, I do think it might be Erica. She was a little bit taken back. It's like, oh, really?
yeah.
Um, but like and I think it's because like since we know the game pretty well because we study it, and especially if you rewatch seasons, it
Yeah.
also helps.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also don't know how to break down who might vote for who in juries, who what people are looking for in a winner in the
Fair.
jury, because that's very important and that doesn't always come through on the screen. So it's hard to find a
Especially if you
sleeper
don't
winner.
watch
Yeah.
Ponderosas like myself, and
Yeah,
not
same.
that
Yeah.
not
And
due to
exit
lack of.
interviews, like all of this stuff, like they kind of tell you their thoughts on the players still in the game, and a lot of that can often give away who they end up voting for, or
Yeah,
who ends up being the eventual winner.
yeah. Um, I think that's part of the reason why I also stay away from Ponderosa, but at the same time,
Mhm.
like, they give us gems like
Yeah,
the four the four the first four people on the jury, and like that little song on the
yeah,
beach.
that was a great moment.
Oh yeah.
Or when Christian Hubicki got voted down David versus Goliath, and he gave a breakdown on how Survivor works as a game. He gave a lecture to everyone on the jury. It
Oh
was
no.
hilarious.
Uh all
But
right.
yeah, I do think it's going to be hard for I think a lot of casual fans to understand how Erica gets this win. But yeah,
Well,
if you just look at the game, how many people Deshaun pissed off on the jury and how many people Xander pissed off on the jury, and they're kind of like switching
yeah.
off in terms of like who pissed off who. Like Deshaun pissed off a certain group and Xander pissed off a certain group, and they don't. There's no mix really of those pissing off. It's kind of like an equal.
This Yeah, it's the same people. It's
Yeah.
and I think that's part of gameplay, is the social thing. We did an entire video, um to those who don't know,
Mhm.
about how to win Survivor. And,
Yeah.
and it's not like obviously like a foolproof system. However, we kind of determined that being a likable person is kind of the most important thing. Hell, I think, was it Deshaun that said that winning challenges didn't matter?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, we also said that in our video because,
Yeah.
like, in the sense, like, what gets you the win, and Erica also said it was like as long as you get there, it's how you get there as well. Um,
Mhm.
and doing so, like, Erica, checked off a lot of the things on that list.
Yeah.
Of being, a great social player and being,
Yeah.
very likable and getting like, or
Yeah.
at least giving off the perception of being a hero, or the very least like a nice person.
Yeah, and she did have a very good way of how putting it what a social game really is not necessarily being super close to a bunch of people. It's being close enough to them that they're not going to target you, but when you vote them out, they're not going to be upset that their friend just voted them out. So it's more just like, oh, okay, good for that person. Like that, I wasn't super close to them, but they were pretty cool. Like I liked them.
Yeah.
And Xander and Deshawn went out of their way to try to be buddies with certain people, only to then blindside them a few votes later, which ended up backfiring in them.
Yeah, this was definitely, I know we said that Modern Survivor doesn't usually have vengeful juries, but this one was kind of like,
Oh yeah.
there was some bad blood.
Yeah, there are a lot of, I think a lot of people, as I said, went in here already made up their minds that they want to vote for Erica, that they're writing off Xander and Deshawn. Let's just see if we can give a question that maybe makes Deshawn or Xander look bad, so then it makes sense for us to vote for Erica.
um I mean, nothing wrong with it. I mean, like,
Yeah, I mean, it's that's
management is a huge part of the game.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and I do think Shan had a lot to this vengeful jury. I do think when she got there, she led a pretty impassioned charge against certain people in the game.
Aside from that, aside from like the jury, one thing I did want to bring up too, this does seem like a very balanced final three, in
Oh
the
yeah,
sense of
it's
like,
actually a really good final three. Like if this was a closer vote, I think we're looking at one of the best final threes we've had in a very long time.
well, I mean, I still think the final three for Winners at War.
Yeah, but winner, I'm talking newbie season specifically.
Fair enough, fair enough. Like,
Because
yeah,
you can't like returning seasons, they already have a bunch of
fair enough. I would say, no, I, David versus Goliath. Solid.
yeah, I mean, but Angelina was like she was a great character, but you knew she wasn't winning.
Yeah, or like, I would say then 35 Triple H,
Triple
because like,
H.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's another one of those cases. Like I think the thing is these three were close in terms of actual level,
yeah,
like where it could have gone different ways, but because of where the jury was, I think it ends
Erica.
up, yeah, I think it ended up power shifting over to Erica. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But I like what you said, how it does feel like they're on the same level, because like, if you took Ricard out of the situation, and when you took um, Heather out of the situation, which a lot of people would say, Ricard was on the top out of the final five, and
and
Heather
then
was on the bottom.
yeah,
You
we
do
got
get
the middle.
yeah, and which I was like, all right, this is cool.
Yeah,
Um, Even though I did feel strongly more that it was either going to be Erica or Xander, though I was horribly wrong about like Xander getting
yeah,
uh not a single vote. It's still something where it doesn't necessarily irritate me, but it's still like one of those things where it's like, you're not upset, but you're like, wow.
yeah,
It's just like a little like, huh, like, I would have expected at least one thing, but like,
yeah,
it's not like you don't feel bad about it, or at least that's how I am. I know some people are
yeah.
calling him a Rob God, but at the same time, I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
and
I'd say, yeah,
you
both.
got to look at the trail, because they didn't edit the trail very good for most of the season, of his failed gameplay, but and so I think for that reason a lot of people just don't see that. Yeah, you shouldn't tell people that you're going to play the idol and then not play the idol and they let them get voted out. It's like if you like, that's just not,
Yeah,
that's
there
not
was
good
no reason.
gameplay.
Well, I mean, I get it with Tiffany and Evie, but with Ricard, there was no
Yeah,
need.
yeah, it seemed, yeah, And then, by the way, it would have been terrible for him to play the idol for Ricard. Like, it would have been terrible to let him get there because then there would have been a guaranteed Ricard ends up winning this game. Or at least if you take out Ricard, there's a chance at that point.
That would down as the dumbest decision in Survivor history.
Yeah, exactly. Unless he wins immunity and then gives it up to battle Ricard and fire and wins. Like that's his only path to victory.
Yeah, we've had some doozies in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's but overall I feel like I enjoyed this finale. It definitely had, the upsetting part. But just because I was like, oh man, Ricard went home doesn't sully my enjoyment of it because that's the game. And also for Art, I'm never going to knock down Art for making me feel something.
Yeah. And plus I saw it kind of on the wall that Ricard's going home here. Like it was like he either wins immunity or finds an idol or something. Like those were his only options. Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's not a bad way to make it to the end and win. It's just
it was possible, but
it just wasn't in the cards.
Hedging your bets for that is not really what you want to do.
The cards.
Yeah, it wasn't in the cards. Yeah. So, but yeah, just like I think modern finales have always been good. Like I can't really look back on a modern finale and it be bad. So yeah, I think it still hits the marks here. So yeah, I think this season started off strong, ended pretty strong, and then there's a bit of a muddy middle here that has its ups and its downs.
I agree. I don't know. I would have to actually look at my list to be like, all right, where would I place this? Also, I like giving it a bit of time.
Yeah. Plus, you got to get a rewatch. I feel like a rewatch lets you look at the season in a different lens.
Yeah, because retroactively, things will be better because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like one of the things is the activation of the Beware idols.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was something that was like, oh, this is so stupid and all that. But once you see it actually done, and when you do, it has a great payoff to it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just how art goes. We might not understand everything at first, but retroactive.
Speaking of the three-way idols, they will be back for season 42.
Before we go to 42, is there anything else? Because I feel like we've covered pretty much everything.
I think we got everything. We don't really need to do an MVP or LVP because obviously MVP is going to be the winner of the season. I guess LVP is Xander.
I would say so because Deshaun won that fire making challenge.
And Xander ruined his vote with Ricard in this episode and then didn't get a good read on Heather and Erica, which one's the real threat there. So
so one thing I noticed in the trailer, now I only saw the cast prior to this only one other time, and I couldn't help but notice one of the guys looks so much like Rick Devens.
Oh, really?
It's just in my opinion, he looks like Rick Devens in the sense of not obviously it looks like glasses, short brown hair, a wider frame.
I can't remember most of the people on it.
I got a quick little glimpse, and then someone in the Facebook group posted the pictures. 17 of their pictures.
I know one person on this cast was in another show that I watched, a YouTube reality show called Sequester. I know that someone from Sequester is actually now on Survivor, so that's going to be interesting to see if they can take kind of that elements of it and bring it in. But yeah, the three-way idol is back. Or I don't know if it's three-way. There might be only two tribes. So
it's weird because I could have sworn I saw 3 different colors.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not confirmed, so I can't really say three-way yet. But one of the best ones so far that has been announced is potatoes have skin. I have skin. I am a potato.
I'm like, that is much worse than anything
It
they have.
is so terrible. Like they really want people to know who have idols. That is
It's like, all right,
clearly,
here's the thing. Survivor knows they can only get away with this shit twice.
yeah,
41 and 42.
yeah,
Because like, especially since this cast won't know about all the tomfoolery, it doesn't look like Shot in the Dark is coming back,
yeah.
which, you know, it's
I,
something that didn't really have any payoff. It
yeah,
cost Sydney her game, and I guess like, but other than
yeah.
that, it was like, no.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ones that they probably noticed in the season wasn't really worth it. So
I do hope that Do or Die comes back because like
it's
it's
definitely going to come back. Jeff Probst loved that. He loved that. Even though I think there's more chances that it comes out as a bad outcome. I think Jeff was like, but it worked this time. It's going to work again,
well,
and he's going to have this like evil
adds,
maniacal laugh to it, like ah.
it adds stakes. One other thing I noticed, the logo,
Yeah.
and one, there's a maze right
Mhm.
behind it, and two, there's a lock and key.
Yeah.
Now the lock and key can I feel kind of reflect the activation requirements for
Mhm.
like the idols,
Yeah. Yeah,
but you
it'd
know,
be
like,
cool if they have to do another thing where you have to find the key in the forest, and you got to find, like a treasure box that's hidden. That you get a clue with the key, and then you got to figure out where this treasure box is to get to it. Like maybe that's something that they're going to do with it. I'm not
it
sure.
would, but it does sound like they're going to be like, it rubs the lotion on the potato skin, or else it gets, voted out
Yeah.
again.
uh yeah. But there was that maze. That means I'm hoping that they bring back the maze challenge, because I always loved when they have the maze challenge. Those
Those are
those have
cool.
always been one of my favorites down the stretch of the merge. So hopefully they bring that
Yeah,
back.
yeah. I like how they have like, or the one where there's like, let's say 5 or 6 different obstacles set up, and it's like, oh, it
Yeah.
reminds me of a playground, and
Yeah. Well,
therefore,
those are the ones that I would have fun doing, win or lose. Like I just think it would just be fun to do those.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, but yeah. Other than that, yeah, we've covered pretty much everything, um, or at least
Yeah.
everything that we know about 42, except like there's one person where
Not
it's like,
sure. Yeah, so we're gonna wait a little bit at least on that one, and hopefully the picture comes out sometime before the season comes out.
yeah. So in the
Yeah,
meantime, we will be bringing you Brant Steels and stuff.
yeah. Next week we
Um,
get to start brand steelers again. Aren't you excited
oh
about
yeah,
that, Ryan?
we are. I still need to pick my people. Sorry, it's been
Yeah.
a crazy, crazy week.
I guess we can reveal next week, because next week is Christmas and everything. So we are going to do Holiday Havoc, a Survivor season with a bunch of different holiday fictional characters or historical characters or something. Like
Oh
as
yeah,
long as they're connected to a holiday, they're fair game.
I have a few in mind. I just haven't put them down to paper, but I've seen his list, and there's some fun peeps on there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it'll be fun doing like Brant Steels again because it's been a hot minute.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is it's going to be fun to get back into it.
Yeah. Well, until then, guys, I hope you enjoy the weekend. Let us know down below what are your thoughts of this finale and
Mhm.
this season as a whole.
Yeah. It's interesting. We've talked at length about our various opinions. So let us know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And all right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
continue my celebration dance.
Oh, there he goes. Okay. Well, I think we should just end the video here. Okay. Adios.